Health Matters with Monique Elliott in association with the Honey Lifestyle Network, bringing you informative information for daily living.
Welcome to Mind Health Matters. I am your host, Monique Elliott, and today we have a topic that affects so many people in this country, and I want you to pay close attention, even if you're a man or a woman. This is vital because we're going to find out more about domestic violence. We're going to find out about red flags. We're also going to find out how to get out of a situation if you're in a situation that is not healthy for you. And so today I have a beautiful guest with me. Her name is Delphia Bowser, and she is an LSW. Wonderful. She is an LSW, and we'll be getting to her soon. But you know, we start out with our myths. And one of the myths of domestic violence is that it doesn't happen. Can you believe that? There are so many people who won't acknowledge that it even happens, or once they find out this is taking place, they just ignore it. They turn their heads. Another myth we have is that it only happens in certain homes or in certain neighborhoods, or if you're poor. We're going to find out this is not a fact. This is not true. It can happen and does happen on many economic levels, on many places. Listen to me, even behind palaces, even behind every degree that you can imagine, domestic violence has taken place. Our guest has 20 plus years of working with individuals who have experienced domestic violence. And so I welcome you, Delphia, for being with us today.
Thank you.
And just tell the audience a little bit about your background and what had you get into domestic violence as far as counseling and recovery.
Okay. Thanks for inviting me, Monique. I feel so honored. Thank you so much. But today I'm here because you've invited me, but also to talk to the audience about how I got into this field. It was not something I really chose in the beginning, but I have a extended experience with domestic violence, my own self. And in being in that situation, once I got out of the situation, I said I wanted to help others in the same situation that I had been in. So I'm here based on not only my schooling and my practical experience, but also my personal experience being in that situation.
Thank you so much for being vulnerable.
Thank you.
And being open.
Yes, it took me years. To share. Yeah, it took me years to get there, but I'm there now, so I'm here to share.
I'm so glad you're with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to start and just say, what are some of the things that you've heard, honey, and in counseling sessions or when you've done groups, big groups where you've presented to individuals about domestic violence? What are some of the attitudes you've experienced or the things you've heard regarding it?
Well, that list can go on and on and on. It really can. But one of the things that I have discovered that I want to share that is not discussed a lot, but once you get in a relationship with a person, when your boundaries are violated in any way, on any level, that is one of the signs that I have found to be true. When your boundaries are violated. What do I mean by that?
That's what I want to know.
Okay. So what I mean by that? So if someone disregards your time, disregards who you are as a person, when someone disrespects you, when someone makes you feel funny inside, when your gut feels funny, then there's something wrong. If someone tries to dictate your time, who you go out with, who you hang out with, how long you'll be gone, all of those things violate who you are and violate those boundaries. But one of the things I wanted to bring out also is know your boundaries, know your personal boundaries before you get into a relationship.
Okay. So what you're saying is the more you know yourself, and what you'll take or not take, the better you are when you get in a relationship or before you meet someone?
Yes.
Could you tell us some examples?
Let me give you an example. That's wonderful that you should ask me that question. I had a person I was working with, and he told me, I will not, under any circumstance, date a person that smokes. I will not. I will not date a person who hangs out in bars. This is what the person told me in this session. I said, okay, those are good boundaries. I like that. I like that. But the very minute that he hooked up with this young lady,
Yes.
he started to like her. He was really fond of her. And they went out several times. Then he discovered she smoked.
Okay.
Then he discovered that she went out to bars with her girlfriends.
Okay.
And he continued to see her.
Yes.
He continued to see her. And I asked him, I said, but your boundaries that you told me
Yes.
were that you would not date a person who smoked and you wouldn't date a person who hung out in bars. But now you're finding yourself in that situation, not knowing how to get out.
Yes.
Because his emotions had gotten so deep with this person, and he had had a sexual experience with this person, which also makes it very difficult to get out as well.
Because they've gotten a bond.
Yes.
They've gotten a certain bond.
Yes. Yes.
And so what I'm experiencing and have seen is that once you get a certain bond with someone, it's very hard to break that.
Yes, it is.
Even if they're doing things that are not to your liking. Another situation that I'm concerned about is once this is happening, what's really going on at that point is you start having in your mind that you're going to change that person once you guys get married or once you really start dating for a long time. Well, I can just accept that for now because they'll change for me because they love me. What would you say to that?
And that's a myth.
Oh, tell me about it.
That's a myth. And so when we think that we can change another person, that is problematic because we can't change ourselves. So how do we expect to change another person?
Yes.
But we really truly think that at times that, oh, I can change him to do this, oh, he'll do that, oh, he'll do this, and he'll do that. No, it doesn't work that way. In fact, when a person gets married to another person, especially a controlling person, then they feel like they own the other person.
Yes.
So if you think that you're going to tell me what to do, you better think again because it's not happening, baby.
Yes.
It's not happening. So that can be really a problem for a couple, especially for a person who is in the on the victim side, so to speak.
I see. Tell me a little bit more about the victim side and also the perpetrator side in the sense of the violence, how that cycle happens.
Okay, that's a good question. So there's this thing called, and it is a term that's kind of tossed around in the domestic violence field, and that is power and control.
Okay.
Power and control. So it's just that, power, when a person feels that they can overpower another person, and the control that helps them to gain what they want to gain.
Yes.
A person who exerts this power and control does it because he feels like he can.
Okay.
Because the other person's not doing a thing about it. They're not stating what their boundaries are.
Yes.
They're just letting it go. So when you have that power and control in a relationship, it is very difficult to get out of that because they use different things to control you. They'll use your children. They'll threaten you. They'll take your money. They'll make you think you're crazy.
Yes.
They'll, of course, the hitting, the punching, all of that. Those are kind of the obvious things. I like to look at domestic violence in this way. You have the obvious signs, and then you have the subtle signs. The obvious signs are those things like punching, twisting your arm, burning you with a cigarette. Those are obvious physical
And what
things.
about punching items or punching walls?
Okay,
in other words?
and that when a person is punching walls, that's a threat to you. So look, if I can punch this wall, I can punch you.
Yes.
And so it really resonates in that way where you feel fearful at that point. And so if a person is punching a wall or displaying a weapon, that puts a lot of fear in a person, especially if the conversation or the argument has heightened and there's a lot of arguing and back and forth and he displays a gun.
Yes.
Hey, I'm going to do what you tell me to do.
Yes.
But then also there's those subtle things like humiliating you in front of your family and friends,
Mm-hmm.
making you feel, they call you names,
Yes, yes,
whether it's in front of friends or not, or family or not. And then you feel like you can't say anything um, back, to
yes,
defend yourself,
yes,
because they've already set the stage.
yes,
This is the way it's going to be. When we get in front of this person, this is what you're supposed to do.
yes,
This is what you're, and all of those, I'm saying that they're subtle, but we don't think of those as being violence.
right,
And so we kind of let it go. Oh, it'll get better next time.
yes,
He really didn't mean it. He's been really upset because he got demoted on his job, or he
yes,
lost his job, or he's having a hard time finding a job. Or so they use these things to as excuses.
uh-huh,
And when those things are used as excuses, then they use other things. I mean, any on any level.
yes.
And so it just becomes a problem.
And so the victim, the person that's on the receiving
Mm-hmm.
end, are they beginning to shrink? Because what many times can happen
Mm-hmm.
is that person wanted to marry someone strong or date someone strong, but then they only wanted to do that so that they could control or tame or whatever that
Mm-hmm.
is called,
Yes.
to what? To get them to be just the way they want
Mm-hmm.
them to be. Is that abuse as well?
Oh, that is. And I call that grooming.
Oh,
I
okay.
call that grooming. So
Yes.
they kind of train the person the way they want them to be. Yes, you want a strong person, but you want a strong, healthy person, not a strong, unhealthy person, not a
Yes.
person that's going to take control over who you are. And once that control takes place, it is very hard to get out. So in that situation, you want to make sure that you are seeking help for
Mm-hmm.
that. Now,
Mm-hmm.
are you recognizing it? You may, but you may be too embarrassed to even state it.
Yes, yes.
Monique, I'm not going to tell you that he did this to me or he did that to me.
Right.
Then you'll look at me in judgment.
Yes.
That's the way the victims often feel.
Okay.
And so it can be very twisted. It can be a
Mm-hmm.
very twisted thing.
It sounds manipulative.
It is very manipulative. And when you think of a spider in a web,
Yes.
or you think of a bug in a web, not a spider, because a spider
But
can
it's
get
in
out of
control of the web.
right, right.
Uh-huh.
So a spider can get out of his own web, but
Yeah.
once that little bug gets in there,
Yes.
he's caught, and he doesn't know how to get out because there's so many different things that are causing that bug to stay attached to that web. And
Yes.
that's the way it is with domestic violence, because you have children,
Yes.
you have rent, and you think
Yes.
about money and groceries and diapers and
Uh-huh.
all these central things, your light bill, your water bill, and all the things that you need on a daily basis. And if you're not working as the victim, and he is,
Yes.
you're kind of stuck.
Yes.
You're kind of stuck.
And so when we're looking at that, Delphia, what are some of the red flags before you even get into a relationship with someone that's like that?
Well, like I was saying earlier, it's those
You
obvious and those subtle signs.
Yes, you said boundaries.
Yes.
Is there anything else inside of those boundaries that a person could be aware of?
Let's see here. Let me see if I can answer your question. I don't know if I can answer the question
That's
exactly the way
okay.
you're asking it,
That's
but
okay.
but once you feel, we have to really pay attention to our inner feelings, because a lot of times we'll disregard our feelings, but when a person keeps talking down to you, you feel like you don't have a voice anymore.
Yes.
When you're told to shut up, sit down, be quiet, don't say a
Mhm.
word, don't look at me, I'm not talking to you, they ignore you, then you feel your self-esteem is almost gone.
Yes.
I mean, it is gone.
Yes.
And so you don't feel like you have a voice in any of that. So at that point, when you recognize that you're not feeling yourself like you used to,
Yes.
you're not laughing, you're not going out the way that you used to,
Yeah.
you're not you're being isolated, and that's another big thing, being
Mhm.
isolated. That's a
Mhm.
kind of a subtle thing.
Mhm.
Oh, I want you to stay here with the kids. You don't really need to. I know you're tired, but as time goes on, you're always at home. You're never around friends.
Yes.
You can't talk to your mother on the phone. He's standing there watching every word that you say. So now you're feeling really isolated, and you don't have a support system at that point.
And I've also seen it where you could be out with someone and they literally have to call their partner like every 20 minutes.
Yes, yes.
Just what are you doing? Or you have to say something loving to them. Controlling.
Yes, controlling. And that is to keep tab on that person. That's called monitoring.
Okay.
Yes, that's called monitoring. And when a person has to call in, I remember being married back in the day, we had pagers.
Yes.
And if I didn't answer that page in lickety split, I had problems and I had a price to pay at the end of the day. So I recall I was at work one day and it was a secured office. So you had to be buzzed in. But people in the office knew my husband at the time and knew that, oh, that's Delphia's husband. He can come on in.
Yes.
It's like,
and so what are those signs? You said that you used to wear a pager, and then your husband would it'd be going off. This pager would be going off. And if you didn't answer, what would happen?
Well, he would come looking for me. If he thought that I was at church or if I was at a friend's house or if I was at work, he's coming to find me to find out why didn't you answer that page. And one day that actually happened. He came to the office. They let him in because they knew him. My coworkers knew him from just being around. And he came in with a look that made me so fearful. He never touched me, but the look is what really got to me. In other words, you're going to get it when you get home.
Yes.
You're going to get it when you get home. So that control, that if you think about that, he's controlling how I'm feeling about myself and my own safety. And so, you know, when you have that type of behavior going on, it's embarrassing to admit that, you know, he's coming here. I didn't tell anybody that was the reason why he was coming.
Because the shame comes out.
Yes, it does.
The shame, and people are asking, even if they don't with their mouth.
Yes.
In thoughts. And people have shared thoughts.
Yes.
Why didn't you get out? You're a grown person. What's going on? Why are you there? Why are you staying?
That is such a very, very common question of why didn't you just leave? Why don't you just leave? Do you like being beat up? Do you like being abused? Absolutely not. No, that's not the case. But because you are again the bug in the web.
Yes.
There are so many things that we had a home together. We had children together.
Yes.
We had bills together. All of those things that ties you together as a couple.
And community.
And community.
Because many times we don't think about, and this is on the spiritual level, people who are being abused at church.
Oh,
you have a whole church family, and so everyone's looking and talking to you, and you're coming in.
Oh my gosh, I had a horrible experience at my own church while I was running from him. And I hid in the bathroom at church, and he came in that bathroom looking for me. And I stood up on the toilet because, you know, he was looking underneath the stall. And luckily, I had a friend that helped me through that situation at church. Yes. So, but that community of people, you know, in the church, you know, you're hoping and praying that there's someone there that can help to keep you safe.
Yes.
And I did have that person. That was, every time I see this young lady, my heart is just flutters. I'm just so happy for her in my life.
Because, you know, it happens in every realm.
Yes, it does.
This happens in every realm. So part of that I want to get to.
Okay.
How then do you begin to move out of it?
Ooh, that, I can only tell you, I can tell you how I did it, but also how I've helped other people. It is a step-by-step process. It is not, and I'm not saying this on everybody's situation, but for the most part, it's a step-by-step. You have to take baby steps, and you almost have to use a lot of reverse psychology for the person. Not that you want to lie to the person, but you have to be very strategic in how you move.
Okay.
And when you move. And what you'll move. When I say what, I mean like your clothing or personal items or things like that. Like, you know, one of the things that an abuser or a perpetrator likes to do is to steal personal items.
Wow.
Like photographs.
Wow.
Like your grandmother's photograph.
Yes, indeed.
And he knows that that is precious to you. So
Yes.
anything that's going to hold some sentimental value are the things that they like to take.
Uh-huh.
Birth certificates, that's not sentimental, but that's important. That's important documents. Social security cards,
Yes.
children's birth certificates or their shot records,
Yes.
things that will stifle you if they're lost. And so I always make sure that just those little tiny steps are done before you make this sudden, I'm leaving tomorrow. No, you're not leaving tomorrow. I mean, and maybe you will.
Yes.
But if you want to do it safely, a lot of times there's lots of fatalities that happen because people don't have a plan.
Yes, and we call that the safety plan.
Yes, and that safety plan is important to follow, but you need someone to help you to develop that safety plan.
Yes.
Because you don't know. If I'm the victim, I don't know anything about what's a safety plan. What is that?
Right, right. Tell us a little about it.
Okay.
How would we structure or meet with a therapist? Many of us meet with a therapist or someone who's a part of this for the safety plan.
Yes. One of the things I want to really hone in on is to be honest. Please be honest with whoever you're talking to that is there to help you. Because if you're not honest, then they can't really help you with everything. If you're holding back information, then they may give you information that goes against what you've given them. And so one of the things is when I was talking about those baby steps is to know what it is that you want to do. Do you want to divorce the guy or you just want to separate? Do you want to leave today? Do you want a safety plan for staying or do you want a safety plan for leaving?
Yes,
because those are two different safety plans. So let's say you want a safety plan for staying because you're not quite ready to make that move. So that safety plan would be, let a neighbor know that if I open up this curtain and I flash this light a couple of times, I'm in danger. Please call 911.
Yes.
So that's something that you can do when you're staying. Another thing is if an argument happens, stay out of the kitchen, stay out of the garage, stay out of the bathroom. Why? Why? Because that's where weapons are. You think in the bathroom? Yes. Think of the toilet, what it's made out of. Think of the bathtub, what it's made out of. Think of what the sink is made out of. Those are weapons, and a person's head can be gashed. A person's head can be put down in the toilet to try to drown them. So the bathroom is really an unsafe place. Why the garage? Because there are tools. Tools are used to harm a person, can be used.
Yes.
The kitchen, knives, forks, all sorts of things that can be used as weapons. So those things, so and stay in and never put yourself in a room that doesn't have an escape, that doesn't have a back door, that doesn't, there's no exit for that, for you to leave. Those are important as being part of your safety plan to stay.
Yes.
Now, if you're wanting to leave, you would want to gather documents. And I would say to gather documents, even if your safety plan is to stay, but, with a trusted friend or a therapist, to have them to make copies of those documents and put them in an envelope and tuck them away.
Okay.
To have a change of clothing for you and your babies. To have extra diapers tucked away somewhere. Have a suitcase in someone's home.
Yes.
Those are things that you can do to prepare to leave. But just saying that I'm going to leave and I'm leaving right now, a lot of times it's not really safe. So we have to do those little baby steps.
I want to thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I want to thank all of you for being here with us. Something that was weaved in, but we didn't really get to talk to you about is all of this works on your mind.
Yes.
And it can break you down.
Yes.
And it becomes emotional abuse.
Yes.
When someone doesn't acknowledge you or they don't celebrate you, that's abuse as well.
Yes, it is.
And so we have to understand that these things aren't always shown up with fist, that you can also harm with your thoughts, with your mouth. I mean, the way you address someone or the way you act as if they don't exist.
Yes.
And you matter.
Yes.
You're important.
Yes.
You were created for beauty and for greatness.
Yes.
And so I want to say this to you. Never forget that your mind health